Hey everybody, clearing. All right, this is going to be a divine feminine check-in. It's going to be, what would your divine feminine like you to know, divine masculines? What would your divine feminine say to you? So this first deck is going to be, how are the DFs looking at the connections and you, masculines? The next deck is what they would say to you about that. And then we're going to get you some advice. So thank you, Divine Creator, for using me as a channel of only the highest, most beneficial information coming through. What would the Divine Feminines say to the Divine Masculines if they had no fear, no filter, unapologetically blunt? What would they say? What advice can we get for the DMs that would hear these messages? Okay, so conscious mind about the connection. What are they thinking? Knight of Swords. They do want to communicate. I heard they just want to relax and be ourselves. What would they say? Okay, they want the control issues to be done. They want the resistance to be dropped. They just want it to be safe already, is what I'm hearing. No judgment, no expectation, just vibing. What can we see for advice for the masculines? Trust this. We've got a twin flamey card, but the wands are our purpose, our soul. And when we've got two here talking about these aligned connections, this is the letting it unfold naturally. There's victory here. I heard, when is enough enough? Can we just hang? So yeah, it does feel like there can be a little bit of ease coming in here, and this card possibly, masculines can be open to spending time with your person, to that falling into place. What can we see for how the feminines are viewing their masculine? Seven of Wands, they are continuing to tap into bravery about all of it. So masculines, your feminines are very transparent emotionally, so you may not think that it requires a lot of bravery on their part to show up the way they do. Oh, but does it ever? And so, it's not that they are just blessed with the gift of gab, I heard. They literally, whenever they communicate from their heart, it is so brave. Masculines, do not underestimate the bravery that your feminine requires to speak so transparently to you. What would they like to say about that? Yeah, that they've been codependent in the past, that they are really trying not to go into any holding patterns that would reflect codependency or disintegration. It matters so much to them to be on the up and up and balanced in this connection. What is the advice for the masculines? Okay, justice in the inverse. I love it when it comes into the upright, but yeah, this is a card of maybe we'll never be ready. There can't be just fear or caution. Sometimes we have to put our toe in the water. So it does feel like some kind of intensity is building that, might not be time yet. So in all fairness, feminines, if there are legal matters or milestones that need to be reached before this connection can come together smoothly, it might be worth holding out for that, because the masculines are really getting this awareness that it's not quite legal or justified in some way yet. So any of the intensity you're feeling, feminines, might be connected with trying to move it forward a little faster than is warranted here. masculines. So if you're feeling any intensity from your feminine side of the energy, just stay in your alignment. Be that stable energy. What can we see for the feminines on the heart space? 10 of Pentacles. They do want it all here, but they can only investigate, inquire internally regarding so much of it. Masculines, they would ideally love to have a conversation with you about those things. It seems to be checking all their boxes, though. When they think of this connection with you, they certainly don't feel single and they certainly don't feel like you are a stretch of the imagination in any shape or form for a long-term partnership. Oh, what would they say to you? The Well, this is the most ascended card in this deck. Actually, it's the Artist is one beyond this, but this card comes right after the World. So in regular decks, the World is the pinnacle card. The Well and the Artist cards are extra in this deck, and the Well is really about going with the flow and allowing that divine flow to come through us. So they would say that they feel like the emotion has been overcome enough for the coast to be clear, it to be safe to actually start to talk about more connected vision for the future, masculines. Okay, what is your advice? Unconditional love. Okay, this starts at home in you, masculines, and so that means radical forgiveness for anything that has caused you to feel guilt and shame on this journey. Any projections or insecurities you've had about your feminine or judgments you've had regarding your feminine. This is time to really take a grounded approach to unconditional love and soften the edges is what I'm hearing. What can we see for the Heart of Hearts? How are the feminines feeling for their masculine? The Hanged Man in the inverse. This is an epiphany. So there's something going on where the feminines are seeing a light bulb moment. They're having an enlightened, with the halo, they're having an enlightened perspective about the connections, about you specifically. I'm hearing they're seeing your bravery also. There's something that they're seeing in you that's more authentic, masculines, than they've seen before. What would they say to you about this? They see the work you're doing on yourself. They see the shift in you. They see your radiance, your becoming. What can we see for advice? Wow, okay. You are being guided to pray, masculines, and ask Source to show you what counterpart energy is made of. I heard sugar and spice and all things nice, but there's something truly divine about your divine feminine that you're being asked to continue to see in divine terms, to open your heart and your eyes and your mind to this feminine in your life that the divine has stationed there. And you're being guided, to put down the disbelief that they would want someone like you, to put down any of the judgments or the guilty conscience about how things have unfolded so far, and to really continue to be shown the splendor, the magnificence, the radiance. What can we see for the manifestations these feminines would like? Humility. They want to continue walking the straight and narrow here as well, masculines. They want to continue having fresh awarenesses, aliveness, growth. What would they say to you? Trust your intuition. Trust the unconditional, beautiful amount of love here. Trust that. It's not going it alone or jumping off a cliff into an abyss. It's literally a beautiful thing. Look at the history, the positive history here, they're saying. They're also saying they forgive you, masculine. So someone needed to hear that. Your feminine forgives you. What can we see for advice? Yes, prosperous new beginning. There's power and prosperity connected with your feminine, masculines. You may not know what it's going to look like. You may not have a clue, but there is a vote of confidence that's growing in your soul and a yes that's required for you to say yes to embark on this. It requires you to say yes on the level of the soul. And you won't be able to do that fully until you trust yourself to not rush and to simply put one foot in front of the other here. What can we see for the action the feminines are seeing could be taken? 7 of Cups. Slow and methodical, I heard. So masculines, your feminines are not willing to rush. They are very thoughtful about this journey, and the feelings that they have, the emotion they have, the love they have for you is justified because they have been looking at love on all these levels. It's not just a fantasy. They actually have the skills to see things beyond the mundane, beyond the ordinary. I heard, why don't you ask them about it? What would they say to you? They don't really want to say too much until you're ready to hear them out or to have a communion about the things that they're perceiving. They don't feel it's their place to really divulge too much if you're not showing interest. So, masculines, if you have been curious, this is sort of like a green light to inquire further. But your feminine is not going to try and sell you on it. They do wish to be joyful about the things that they're seeing in the connection, but not against your will, masculines. Continuing to do the inner work. So a little bit more time seems to be needed here with the justice in the inverse and this doing the work card that keeps coming out. So allowing it to be what it is, but these energies that are coming to the forefront in this reading, they're like priming the connection for this unfolding. What is the biggest challenge the feminines are aware of? The Hermit, this solitary energy between the two. The way that this relates to destiny and the playing out of these connections, that's the biggest challenge, because the feminines know that it's a blessing to have these connections unfold the way they are. That doesn't mean that they prefer that. If they would have their way with it, they would want to be closer physically. What would they say to you about this? This is the Queen of Wands, Divine Feminine card. You know, their love for you is a spiritual love, but it's also physical. It's on all the levels. They have so much passion for you. It requires a great deal of strength to not trivialize the connection and to not lead the connection passionately. Part of their bravery is holding back the passion until you initiate it with them, until you give the go-ahead. So we just saw the feminine saying, until you ask, King of Swords, King of Swords. They're going to stay in that composure. And here's your advice. This is you striking up that conversation. This is you leading a conversation here. Masculines voluntarily initiating a meaningful conversation or time together. It's not that you're calling the shots and only calling the shots, but there is definitely an awareness here that there's momentum in your connection, and there's an obvious awareness that you hold the ability to move this forward when you feel it is appropriate, masculines. The owl is a predator, not in a creepy way, but a hunter. And the feminine is just sitting here independent in their glory. And masculines, you know that you are going to be entrusted with go time here. What is, let's see, what is the solution to this challenge of being in a sacred magnetic resonance and having this unfold? The moon, continue to feel your cosmic energy, feminines. As you sit in this frequency that you're holding, more of the splendor, the majesty can be exuded because specifically you're not going into rebellion, you're not going into coping methods or strategies. You're holding the frequency. And you can imagine if you're holding that frequency, there's a vibration. And if you break frequency and go fall back on something that you have in the past, a crutch, a coping method, the frequency stops. If you resonate for long enough, that threshold, that vibration permeates out further into the universe. And that's what I'm seeing the feminines doing right now as we prepare for the masculines to come in. Now, that resonance is more like Om. It's not a buildup, a pressured thing. It's actually a sustaining frequency. So it's not an amping up, it's a consistent, committed, righteous, aligned Om. What is the advice for the masculines? Oh, hang on. The King of Cups. So this is your own emotion that comes up, feminines. When we're holding that frequency for a while, inevitably there will be many awarenesses that will come in that will be previous capacity markers, whereby you might have tapped out in the past and gone and done something to fill that void or to cling to something for some sense of control or stability. This is a sustained process whereby feminines, you're not going to be triggered into doing things that are no longer a fit. You're coming into righteousness and mastery, and so therefore you've got this. Advice for the masculines, inner bravery. I just heard, take heart, masculines, that these exquisite feminines, they are going through this process because of you. Noble, divine, beautiful masculines. Take that to heart deeply, that you have caused this particular feminine to be in this resonance of righteousness, that your dynamic is helping the two of you align on this incredibly pure, balanced, righteous, peaceful, alive, energetic, eternal frequency. Allow that to sink in deeply, masculines. What is the direction in the near future? Justice. Yeah, so masculines, you know that something is about to be settled. This is a very auspicious sign that it will go in the favor of you, your feminine, this dynamic in the near future. So next 3 weeks, there's something here that's going to play out. And in the upright, it looks like in the favor of the two. And then the two of coins. So your feminine wants to start communicating more about the practical steps that can come from whatever this justice is that's playing out in the next little while. Advice for the masculines, surrender to the process. This is a beautiful, sweet energy. The Page of Cups really is a soft, sweet acceptance. It can also be a very Twitter-pated, smitten energy. And so it's not a king or queen, but it is an emerging romantic frequency. So feminines, the masculines are going to start becoming more enamored, smitten, Twitter-pated as this justice plays out and the momentum can begin. Your masculine will be in a new energy of romance. Okay, many blessings, everyone. Bye for now.